after hearing that diagnosis and overcoming it, I think my life goals are just to not regret not taking action. Hey there, toy people. Azhelle Wade here. We've got a special treat for you today, inspired by an email that I received from listener Kelly. So Kelly sent me this really sweet message. I'm going to read it for you exactly as she sent it to me. Kelly says, I think that one of us, meaning one of the listeners, or the guest that you've already interviewed should interview you, as you have a very interesting background. We would all like to know more about your journey, your patents, your IP, your cool costume biz. So Kelly's idea was perfect. By the end of today's episode, you're going to learn a little bit more about me and what keeps me motivated to keep coming back here week after week and showing up as your coach, your cheerleader, your connector, wherever you're at in your toy journey. Whether you're at the beginning or you're a vet and you just love the connection that we have here every week, this episode is going to shine some light on why I do what I do. Okay, our very first question for the Toy Coach today is, Azhelle, tell us about your childhood and your time on Sesame Street. Oh, wow. So if you don't already know, I was a little bit of a child actress growing up. My mom ran this incredible model and talent agency based out of New York City, and my childhood consisted of going to school and sometimes go on auditions for various things. Like the very first thing I remember I was in, I don't know if I actually auditioned for it. I was terrible. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a good model, but I somehow, probably because my mom owned the agency, I got into this ad campaign. And honestly, I have to say, this is probably my very first memory of feeling inadequate. I know that sounds terrible. I'm remembering the pictures from this magazine once they came out. I think I was about 10. And I remember being at this photo shoot. There was this other girl with this beautiful, long, curly, light brown hair. She was a pro. She had no fear. She knew her angles. She was just like fun and lively. Her smile was just so warm and natural. I was so awkward and I just didn't have like the style and the confidence that she had. I just remember feeling such insecurity of like, why can't I just be confident like her? I remember the pictures that came out. I was shocked that they used my pictures. I think they probably had to because I was the only one wearing the clothes that they needed to be modeled. But I remember seeing the pictures and I just looked so uncomfortable. And this girl, look, she's just having the best time. I guess I should go back. Sesame Street was much earlier than this. So that I was 10. Sesame Street, I think I was about 3, maybe 4. And I was on there for a few years. I don't remember a lot of it. I was very young. I have these like flashes of memories of being on set and being in the green room and being in, I don't know what this room is called, but like the script where we would go over the script and go over what was going to happen in the show that week. I remember being in that room very frequently. I was actually good on Sesame Street. I was. There were some scenes where I was picking my nose, but other than that, I was a super pro. And I just remember I got to do things like dance with Snuffalufagus. It was like a giant kind of mammoth looking creature. We got to do like the spaghetti dance, which I found a video on YouTube. I can link that in the show notes. Yeah, I did a spaghetti dance with Snuffalufagus. I remember meeting Big Bird and freaking out because I saw he wasn't real. I remember seeing them take the head off of him and the dude that was inside. And I was like, oh, Big Bird's not real, Dad. I want to go home. I remember meeting the lion and doing some like counting or spelling with him. And then I remember meeting Oscar the Grouch and Elmo. And one of the cool things from Sesame Street that I remember knowing as a kid was like insider information was how all of the puppet masters, people controlling the puppets, were on scooters. And the scooters were very similar to what I would later see growing up as like the scooters you play with in gym class that you kind of like roll around on. And they're all sitting on these scooters and they had these small TVs kind of on their chest so they could see what was going on up above. It was just so cool. I also remember a very interesting like race moment on Sesame Street. We were getting ready to do a sleepover scene with Elmo. And so they had all these like fake parents and they were assigning all the kids fake parents. And I remember they assigned me a white mom. I was just so confused because I saw all the other kids, like there was like a dark-skinned black girl who got a dark-skinned black mom, and there were like these white kids who got their white parents. And then I was this like light-skinned black girl, and they gave me this mom who was just super white, and they were like, okay, so this is your mom. And I knew it was pretend. I don't even think I knew biracial kids were a thing back then. I don't know, but in my head I was like, I don't get the skin tone. I remember just being very confused and just saying like, okay, I guess this is my mom. It was a very strange moment. Next question. How did you come up with your great idea about the custom-made children's Halloween costumes? 1, it wasn't a children's Halloween costumes. 2, every parent that came to my trade show booth tables when I was selling these told me I should make it for children. And I made the mistake that I teach all of my students not to make. I bought way too deep on inventory, so I could not pivot when I got that feedback, and I could not change. Not only did I buy too deep on inventory, I just bought too deep in on the concept, like website development, how I was like getting all of the fabrics, how I was constructing it, building out all of the patterns, the different sizes. I invested heavily in one direction of a product, and I couldn't turn around until I sold through that. But at the time I felt like I had bought in too deep to turn around and pivot. Every parent told me I should make it for kids. So Costumize Me was a convertible event wear line for women. I say was because I don't have time to work on it right now. And it started because I had a group of 6 best friends, and we all had such different personalities, and we all loved Halloween, and we loved all of those other holidays like Santa Con, and any reason we could dress up as a group of like hot young girls and like go out on the night on the town and have fun, right? So I wanted us to all just be able to look great, show off our personalities, and not have something that was like a throwaway piece of fabric. I just always felt like clothing should be just higher quality. I don't love, and I still to this day don't love, cheap Halloween costumes, because like for me, Halloween is like fashion week. So I actually started Costumize Me as a custom made to order costume line. And I went to my girlfriends and I sketched out pictures of all of our different personalities in these different costumes, right? And then I got them all to say, okay, do you like the style? Like one of my friends, she was like kind of hipsterish, so I gave her like a hipster Santa look. And one of my other friends, she was like the girly one of the group, so I gave her like a really fluffy dress. The other one was just very like soft and delicate, so like I gave her like a snowflake outfit, very sleek. And they all loved the look. We did a fun photo shoot. I can throw up some pictures. We all looked fantastic. Then I threw up a website and I made it made to order. Okay, next question. I want to first start off and say that I heard you mention that you had cancer at some point in your life. Could you share about this experience and how it has changed you? Yeah, I think 2016, I had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was just horrifying. That experience for me was just earth-shattering. I remember I was actually working at Toys R Us at the time, and I went back to work right after leaving my doctor's office, where we were supposed to be trying to get me an appointment. And I remember all I could think about is like, what am I supposed to be doing? Once you are in the hands of a doctor who's giving you, these are your appointments and these are your next steps, it's a little bit clearer. But when you're at the very beginning and you don't even know how to get an appointment or who you need to be calling for your specific type of cancer or where you should be going, how to talk to your family, how to deal with their reactions to what you tell them, how to talk to your coworkers, how to deal with their reactions. I did not have a guidebook. And I remember sitting in the parking lot of Toys R Us and just crying because I thought my life was over. I just thought I wasn't going to achieve anything. I was a product manager and a design manager at the time at Toys R Us, and I had such big dreams. I really wanted to be a CEO of a company. I had huge dreams, and I Googled stuff, which don't do that if you ever find out you have cancer. And I Googled stuff that said like, you're not gonna live for past 5 years. And I thought my whole life was over. I mean, it's been 5 years now. I remember feeling like what have I done with my life? Like I've just wasted all this time. And that was a really hard thing to come to terms with. You just feel like you don't know what to do with yourself. After receiving such a diagnosis and overcoming it, what life goals do you have for yourself, both professionally and personally? So after hearing that diagnosis and overcoming it, I think my life goals are just to not regret not taking action. My mom gave me a book, Do Everything One Day That Scares You. It's like a coffee table book. It's a journal, and it has a year's worth of fear-facing prompts and mottos of encouragement. And whenever I'm feeling a little bit stuck, like I can't move forward, I'll use this book. She gave me this book December 25th, 2016. This is the year I came through cancer. So this book, you can kind of just turn to a random page and it just tells you something to do. You can put in whatever date you want. You don't have to go in order. And I think it's a great thing to help you break out of that funk of like, I can't do something, or I'm too afraid, or doing everything one day that scares you is going to help you move forward to the next stage. Okay, next question. What made you want to start your own business and podcast? So I wanted to start my own podcast because I'd met somebody at a toy trade show, and she had a really great in-game product, and she was super excited about it and super proud. But she did not understand all the information that she would need to present that game to me or my boss professionally to potentially be licensed. And I really wanted to help her, but I just literally didn't have the time. I thought I could just like kind of guide her, like, oh, put this together. We want to see this, and then pitch it to us. But I just didn't have the time. Months passed, and I started to think, what if I could just explain what companies want and put that on a podcast? And I can just tell these people, listen to this episode, do this, and then give us that, you know? And that was my first idea. And it was my sister who said, Azhelle, wake up. The universe is trying to tell you something. When are you going to start listening to the universe? The universe is saying that it's time for you to start your own business. And it took a leap of faith. Okay, next question. In your opinion, what do you feel has contributed to your professional success? Okay, my professional success. First up, I'd have to say my mom and my sister for sure. My mom, her motto that I talk about time and time again, never say you can't. That is something I have a picture of the day of her telling it to me, at least the time that I remember very clearly. I was wearing this like green and blue plaid skirt. I think I told her I can't do something. I don't remember what it was I was making. And she just looked at me and she's like, never say you can't. And she said, come here. I don't know what she did, but I remember her helping me or showing me that I can. And that mentality helped me professionally greatly, because anytime somebody would say, Azhelle, can you figure out how we can grow our girls' brand by like $500,000 by the end of the year? I'd be like, sure, gotcha. We'll figure it out, because I can. Then my sister, she was a cheerleader. She still is such a huge cheerleader for me. She would be like, nobody knows what they're doing in the beginning. You think these companies expect you to come in knowing everything? You're freaking an intern, or you're like the lowest person on the totem pole. You just listen, learn, and then apply. That's kind of what I did. I tried to be a little bit easier on myself as far as what I needed to know going into companies very early on, giving myself space to learn and adapt and grow, and finding people in all the companies that I worked at that I could trust to let them know, like, hey, I'm new. Like, here's my areas of expertise, and here's what I need help in. Are you willing to be a mentor to help me grow where I need to grow? Have you won any toy awards? If so, what were they? And do you think that they help to sell products? Yeah, I've won a few. So there was the Oppenheim Toy Award back when I worked for Toys R Us, and the Game Changer Award at the 2021 Taggies, and the Mojo Nation Award is one that I've gotten. The patents are kind of awards on toy inventions. Then when I was in college, I got an honorable mention in a national design competition for a store design that I did for a Sony display. It was called like Sync by Sony. Anyway, they were on my resume, and it was a part of what I used to sell myself to employers. Do I believe that toy awards help? Yes. So toy awards help because parents care about the safety, the reliability, and the quality of the toys, right? But they're only going to help, one, if they're in the right place on your website, and they're also only going to help if the parent knows what those awards are. So toy awards are good, but if you can mix them with like authority badges, and when I say that, I mean features on media sites that are commonly known, things like BuzzFeed or popular mommy blogs or entrepreneur. Features that people trust will help you build that like know, like, trust factor. So yes, for the toy awards, but it varies between what kind of product it is. Like very eco-conscious, sensory-focused toys, I think those more niche awards will help sell those toys better. But when you get into like more mass market, if you can get national coverage from some of those bigger magazines, parent magazines, kids play magazines, like that parents can identify with, then that's going to help you even more. It just matters where it is on your website. I was listening to a podcast the other day that said people often put their authority badges, like the social proof that they have. I've been featured in Entrepreneur or Parenting Magazine or Oprah. They tend to put those at the bottom or in the middle of their site, so you have to scroll to get to them. This person said, you should put it right at the top of the site. Don't make people look for that information. And I agree. Like if you're selling a product, it should be one of the first things that the buyer sees, because that's going to encourage them to keep going through the product, and it's going to increase the authority the product has in their mind from the get-go. And you want to do that as soon as possible. Okay. Next question. It takes courage and intelligence to accomplish what you have thus far in your life. Where does your drive come from? I got to tell you, I don't know. I would initially say my mom, just because she had this entrepreneurial spirit. I love starting things. One of my next business models might be, you have an idea, let me start you off. I'll set you up with your website, business plan, social media, logo, and then you go take it from there, because I absolutely love starting things. When you start a business, it's a white sheet of paper. Like, who's going to tell you what you're doing is wrong? You could do whatever you want. You know, it's your baby. You're creating something from nothing. Like no one can judge that, right? Once you have a business, once you have customers, once you have expectations, for me, it becomes a little bit more like, oh, I don't want to make another move. What if I do something wrong? How do I do this? What's the right way to handle this? So now what keeps me motivated is to look at what you think is your have to do list as what you get to do. And that's really changed my perspective. When I first started my podcast, I would have like 20 listens an episode, and most of them were me. And now I get to record episodes that sometimes hundreds of people are listening to, and that's pretty cool. So I just try to look at it as like my get to do. This is what I get to do instead of what I have to do. So that keeps me motivated. The fact that I even have built something that needs maintaining is really impressive. Okay, next question. I also understand that you were vice president of a toy company. How fun was this? I'm sure many listeners want to know more about that. Yeah, I loved it. I worked at a company called Creative Kids. I was the brand manager. I got promoted to VP of brand and product, and I loved it. I have to say, it was so fulfilling. And when you work at a company that's like not quite as big as like the big four toy companies, but still quite large, meaning you're doing like millions of dollars worth of product, you get the experience creating mass quantities of product, but then you get to work on so many different areas of the business because it's just the workload isn't as divided between specific roles. So you get to do the ideation, the plan drawing, the brainstorming, buyer presentations, you get to handle inventor concepts, you get to go to trade shows, you just get to touch so many areas that I felt so validated with the work I was doing. Next question. I would be interested in hearing about anxiety and or imposter syndrome when getting into the toy industry. Have you experienced these problems, and how did you work past them? The best thing you can do is just arm yourself with knowledge from as wide of a range as possible so that you feel comfortable with the idea that everybody in the toy industry has a slightly different way to approach situations, to reference topics, slightly different acronyms to refer to things. A while back, I did a panel with Dougal Grimes of Spin Master, and he kind of did a lightning round with all of the panelists and different acronyms used in the toy industry. He would say an acronym, we had to buzz in or slap in for the answer. And he got to this acronym NPD. Now, NPD has two meanings. It could be referring to NPD data, which is kind of a website that has like retail consumer shopping data, and the toy industry pulls from that data. Very often you'll see toy industry news reports with data from the NPD site, but it also could stand for new product development. So I remember answering that and I just said, I'm going to go with new product development. And he actually said, no, we were looking for NPD. Now, Azhelle from like 5 years ago would have felt mortified by saying new product development over NPD, the website, right? But what I've learned just going through this industry is just every toy company is different. Every person is different. If somebody is going to judge you because you don't know the same acronym that they use for a specific term or specific title, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Those were all of the deep, intense, get to know the toy coach questions, but we do have a couple of fun bonus questions. Do you have a pet? I don't. I'm actually allergic to cats and dogs, grew up with both, could never breathe. Finally, I moved out and I can breathe better now. So I don't have any pets, but I do really want a puppy. What is your favorite food? Oh my gosh, I love potato anything, and I absolutely love mac and cheese. So I will just eat like all kinds of French fries and mac and cheese and just love it. How about we just go with cheese fries? There was a place, Palm Frites, in the city. Oh, love it so much. Okay, next question. How do you manage and balance all the demands in your life? I use project management softwares. I use a program called ClickUp to manage my entire business, honestly, because I would not be able to keep track of everything without it. But mostly my calendar on my phone, my full focus planner, and then ClickUp help me keep it all together. And the last question for today, what do you do for fun or to keep you healthy? I've been salsa bachata dancing and performing for years. I got on a bachata dance team. I've performed all over the US. That's what I absolutely love to do for fun. So that's it. Okay, toy people. I hope you enjoyed this episode getting to know me, the toy coach. So we've got to do a major listener spotlight right now. Kelly is the one who inspired this episode idea, and we are about to plug Kelly's shoe tying made simple. So I want you guys to head over to junctionoffunction.com. This is your companion in guiding children to learning new skills. So Kelly has a shoe tying made simple product on her site that I would love you guys to check out. Thank you, Kelly, so much for helping arrange this episode. It was my pleasure answering these questions for you today, guys. And I hope that you feel more comfortable in hearing from me, but I also hope you understand and found inspiration in just putting one foot in front of the other and keeping moving on your entrepreneurial journey. Now, as always, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Until next week, I'll see you later, toy people.